The Cougarine Chronicles, Volume 1, The Hybrid's Vengeance. Chapter 1, The Edge of Vengeance. Ash's Perspective. Narration. The moon hung high above the tree line, casting a faint, ethereal glow across the forest floor. A gust of wind swept through the trees, sending leaves rustling as I moved in silence. My senses were sharp, every step deliberate. The hunt had begun. Tonight, I wasn't just searching for enemies, I was searching for answers. The Moonveil Legion had tasked me with infiltrating the Rage Vampire's strongholds, gathering intel on their movements. But for me, this wasn't just a mission. It was personal. My father Tank had disappeared, and I had reason to believe the Rage faction knew something about him. He'd abandoned my mother and me, and I was determined to find out why. I crept forward, my cougarine instincts alive, feeling every shift in the wind, every vibration in the earth. The forest, my natural habitat, welcomed me like an old friend. I was a predator, and tonight the vampires were my prey. I felt the presence of them before I saw them. The vampires were close, 2 of them by the smell. Their rancid blood and foul stench permeated the air. I wasn't in the mood for talking, so I shifted into cougarine form, muscles bulging as my body morphed. In seconds, I towered over the forest, standing 10 feet tall with claws capable of rending anything in my path. My golden eyes glowed as I prowled toward the vampires. Before they could react, I was on them. My claws tore into one vampire's throat, and my second claw sliced through another's chest with brutal precision. The fight was over before it started. But the question still lingered in my mind. Where was my father? And why had he left us behind? These answers, if I were lucky, lay somewhere in the heart of this rage faction. Chapter 2, The Shadow of Malice. The night was far from over. The fight with the 2 vampires was only a minor skirmish compared to what was waiting for me ahead. As I moved deeper into rage territory, a looming presence drew near. I could feel it, the air growing heavier, more oppressive. Then he appeared, Malice, the leader of the Rage Vampires. His presence sent a chill through me, his crimson eyes burning with intensity.
"You're bold, little hybrid,"
he rasped.
"You've crossed into my domain. Now, you'll pay the price."
I wasn't about to back down. The Rage Vampires had much to answer for, and Malice was the first one who'd be held accountable. Our battle was fierce. His strength matched mine, but I knew I had the advantage. I was faster, more agile. I slashed through his defenses, each blow landing with bone-crushing force. Still, Malice wouldn't go down so easily. His fangs glistened as he lunged at me, but I sidestepped and drove my claws deep into his chest. For a moment it seemed like victory was within my grasp, but Malice wasn't done. He howled in fury, pushing me back with a wave of raw vampiric power. His body seemed to regenerate, healing the wounds faster than I could inflict them, but my resolve didn't waver. If I had to destroy him to get the answers I sought, so be it. Chapter 3, Uncovering the Past. With Malice lying in the dirt, I took a deep breath, standing over the fallen leader of the Rage Vampires. His blood soaked the ground beneath us, but I wasn't here for the kill. I was here for information. I quickly rifled through his pockets, searching for any clue about my father. My fingers brushed against something cold and metal, a small pendant, shaped like a wolf's claw. I didn't recognize it, but it seemed important. Malice's eyes flickered open, hatred still burning in his gaze.
"You think killing me will give you the answers you seek? You're a fool."
I smirked, crouching down beside him. Maybe I am. I'll still try. Before I could extract any further information, a sharp noise pierced the air. Someone else was here. A shadow darted across the trees. I tensed, preparing to fight once again. Chapter 4, Tank's Legacy. The figure emerged from the shadows, but it wasn't another vampire. It was a woman, tall and with a fierce, determined look in her eyes. She was dressed in the colors of the Moonveil Legion.
"I know what you're looking for,"
she said in a low, steady voice.
"and I can help."
I narrowed my eyes. Who are you?
Virgil Dawn sent me.
She said, stepping forward.
You've been hunting the rage vampires, but there's more to this than just your father's disappearance. I know where Tank is.
My pulse quickened. What do you know about my father? The woman hesitated, her face unreadable.
He's alive, but he isn't the man you remember. The Rage faction has something to do with it. They've twisted his mind with their power, but you need to be careful. He's no longer the same Tank you knew.
I clench my fists. Then I'll bring him back. I'll bring him back, and I'll make sure he knows what he's done. Chapter 5. Into the Heart of the Rage. With new information in hand, I set my sights on the next phase of my mission, the Rage Stronghold. But it wasn't going to be easy. Their defenses were brutal, and I was running low on time. I ventured deeper into the heart of their territory, guided by the clues I'd collected. The stronghold loomed ahead, its twisted architecture rising out of the earth like a monument to destruction. But inside, I knew I would find what I was looking for. Stealth became my ally as I infiltrated their fortress, moving silently through the shadows. Each step was calculated, each movement designed to avoid detection. But the deeper I went, the more dangerous it became. I reached a chamber that seemed to pulse with dark energy. Vampires littered the area, but I wasn't concerned with them. I had a target. At the center of the room was a large, ornate door. Behind it, my father waited. The moment of truth was at hand. Chapter 6. A Father's Betrayal. I burst through the door, claws extended, adrenaline coursing through my veins. My father, Tank, stood before me. But he wasn't the man I had hoped to see. His eyes were wild, his posture hunched and predatory.
You!
He growled, his voice hoarse.
You're the one they've sent to finish what I started.
I froze. Tank, it's me. It's your son. His eyes flickered with recognition, but the fury didn't subside.
You should have stayed dead, boy. There's nothing left for you here.
I didn't know what to say. My heart ached. This was the man who had abandoned me, but the rage within me started to grow. Not just against Tank, but against the entire system that had shaped him into this monster. You don't control me anymore, I said through gritted teeth. I'm here to take you down and bring you back to the light. Tank's eyes flashed.
You think I can be saved? I'm beyond that.
The battle was inevitable. Chapter 7. The Final Stand. The fight between me and my father was more brutal than anything I had ever experienced. Tank's strength was immense, but his attacks were erratic, fueled by rage and madness. He moved with the power of a were-cougar, but his instincts were twisted, infected by the Rage faction's influence. I could barely keep up, dodging his strikes and trying to find an opening. We fought for what felt like hours, both of us bloody and battered. I could see the hesitation in his eyes. He didn't want to hurt me, but he was too far gone. His mind had been shattered by years of power-hungry obsession. Shattered by years of power-hungry obsession? The fight reached its peak when I landed a solid blow to his chest, forcing him to the ground. I stood over him, panting heavily, my claws poised. Come back, I said softly, my voice cracking. Please, you don't have to do this. Tank's eyes softened, but then in an instant he lunged. I blocked his attack, but it was the last. I struck him down, bringing him to his knees. Chapter 8. A Hybrid's Future. Tank lay on the cold stone floor, his blood staining the earth beneath him. The fight was over, but the question still remained. What now? I whispered, kneeling next to him. The moment of closure I had sought never came. There was no redemption, no reconciliation. My father was gone, consumed by the darkness that had claimed him.